I've mentioned it in other videos, but I've never dedicated a full video to it. But that ends today because we're going to be talking about Pensacola, Florida, and if you should be living there. So let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Garrett O'Leary here with the O'Leary Brothers team here at Lead Realty. Thank you for tuning in to this week's video. I surely do appreciate it. Now, like I said, we're going to be talking about Pensacola today. I decided to dedicate a whole video to it because I think it's due time, and I think I should dive into some of the details about why I think Pensacola is becoming a more viable place for a lot of people that are moving or considering moving to the Emerald Coast. Now, to kick things off, why would you want to live in Pensacola? Well, to put it simply, it's kind of a great place to be. As some of you may know, I'm actually originally from California. I spent a large portion of my life living in some of the biggest cities that the nation really has. I've spent a good portion of my time in kind of the Bay Area and then a good 5 years in Los Angeles. So obviously I was around and living in cities that were upwards of 1 million people, really depending on where you are. So I'm used to that big city lifestyle, I'm used to everything like that. So when I decided to move to Florida and I chose the northwest part of Florida and the Emerald Coast, there really wasn't an option where I felt like, well, what's a city, where can I live, where can I still get that same lifestyle? And ultimately I ended up moving to, the Destin-Fort Walton Beach area. It wasn't until after I moved here that I really learned anything about Pensacola. Now, what kind of caught my eye about Pensacola after I moved here was that Pensacola kind of offers that city lifestyle to a lot of people that may have come from that type of background, but don't necessarily want to be in such a huge city anymore, but still want some of those benefits that living in a city kind of offers. Pensacola, put simply, is a larger city. It's got approximately 50,000 people and kind of makes up about 20 square miles of land. So you do have quite a bit of space to kind of work with. It's not nearly as congested as some of the bigger cities that you may be thinking of. You're not as close, right up next to each other. In terms of neighbors, you have your room to kind of mess around, you have your room to build a house, you have plenty of larger lots that you could kind of find. Plus, you have a really awesome downtown district, and we'll talk about obviously real estate prices in just a little bit. But overall, Pensacola is going to give you, again, that non-congested type lifestyle of living out in almost in a country-like area, but also have a bunch of the benefits that living in a city offers. For many, living in Pensacola or considering Pensacola will tick off many of the boxes of having all the benefits of a city without necessarily having as many of the drawbacks. But what else makes Pensacola appealing? I really haven't said anything that makes anybody would go like, oh yeah, I have to live there. Well, Pensacola is going to offer you the same amenities, benefits that anywhere on the Emerald Coast would offer. You're going to have access to the crystal clear waters and the white sand beaches that the Emerald Coast is known for. In fact, Pensacola Beach is arguably one of the most famous beaches in the United States. Many of you may have not heard of it. You may have maybe more familiar with like the Destin area, but Pensacola Beach is arguably one of the best beaches on this whole coastline. It is arguably one of the most relaxing beaches according to many residents. Even has some surveys, again, I don't really know how they classify what is more relaxing than the other, but it is classified as one of the most relaxing beaches and arguably one of the most beautiful beaches in the nation. Plus, you still have all the amenities that are usually associated with a beach town, except in this case, it's going to be a bigger city. So you still have, if you are a seafood fan, an absolute host of choices if you want to go out and get some of the best seafood you've ever had. Now, for me personally, I'm not actually a seafood fan. I know, why did I choose the coast? I don't know, I just like being here. But the seafood here is second to none. Everybody I know that loves seafood arguably has been to some of the best restaurants they've ever been to here on the Emerald Coast, and Pensacola is nothing different. You will have your host of seafood options, but if you are someone that's like me and maybe isn't a fan of seafood, then you can go to the other restaurants that are right down their main street that are just as delicious. What I like most about some of the downtown area, especially the restaurants, is that each restaurant kind of has its own character. What adds to the atmosphere is that, their main street, which is Palafox Street, is lined with brick buildings that are just absolutely gorgeous. It's a very historic downtown area, being that Pensacola was founded, I believe, officially in the United States, I think around 1860 or something like that. So it is very much a historic area to be, and you definitely feel that as you walk the streets. It is quite an interesting feeling. It really is some gorgeous architecture, some gorgeous buildings. You really won't feel like you are in an ugly part of any town. It is quite an interesting experience. Plus, one of my favorite features of the downtown area is that every Sunday they host a farmer's market that is actually really cool. I've been to a handful of farmers markets, in California, obviously they're very popular. They have them here in Destin as well. So I mean, I've been to my fair share, but the one in Pensacola is actually really interesting. Again, it's right down their main stretch. It's kind of like a block or two inland, but they set up vendors, boutiques, different food options that are all very different. I mean, I've had obviously, growing up, I grew up with tamales. There was a particular vendor, I don't remember the name, but arguably some of the best tamales I've had since I left California, and I constantly think about them. And that's kind of the best thing, is that you really do find those unique, small, mom and pop type owned areas, shops especially, in this case a vendor, that have some delicious food. And obviously you get to support local businesses, support local artists, and it really was an awesome experience. They do it every Sunday, so if you are in the area and want to experience that, I would definitely recommend going to this Sunday farmers market. You won't regret it. It kills a couple hours, and you can walk obviously downtown, walk to the pier, and kind of enjoy the bay. But overall, it's a really enjoyable experience. Downtown, I really can't recommend going there enough. It's a ton of fun. You won't regret being in downtown Pensacola. Now, arguably one of my favorite aspects of Pensacola is that it has sports teams. Now, if you've watched any of my videos or know me at all, I am a huge sports fan. I absolutely love sports. I follow major soccer leagues across the world. I follow MLS, obviously, racing, football, baseball, I mean everything. So moving to Northwest Florida, I was kind of devastated that they didn't have any professional teams unless I wanted to drive to New Orleans or go to Atlanta or head down to southern parts of Florida to kind of get to, obviously, the professional teams down there. But that's just a long drive. It sucks that there was nothing close by. So I was delighted to find out that Pensacola actually has 2 semi-professional teams. And even though they're semi-professional, it was still a ton of fun when I first started going, and now I've been to several games since. Now, Pensacola has, again, 2 teams. One is the Pensacola Ice Flyers, which is semi-professional hockey, and then they have the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, which is semi-professional baseball. I believe they're AA. So their stadiums are gorgeous. They're really easy to get to. They always have a sellout crowd because the tickets are so inexpensive, which makes their fans passionate because, again, they're selling out the stadiums, they're selling out all the seats. People are there to support their teams. It's just a lot of fun. The food is good. And obviously, being that Pensacola isn't like obviously the biggest city, you can get from the downtown area where you had dinner, lunch, depending on the time, obviously, and then almost walk to the stadium. It's just that close. So it really offers a great experience if you want to go see some really good teams play hockey or baseball and enjoy your evening with family and friends. And it really makes for a fun evening. Furthermore, being that the teams, again, are semi-pro, they really focus on that fan appreciation, that fan experience. So they're constantly doing things to kind of engage with the fans, which makes game days, as well as if you just follow them leisurely, really enjoyable. I mean, they do a lot of giveaways. They'll do jersey giveaways. I mean, they do a lot of things to show the fans that they appreciate them and that they want them there at all of their games. And it really makes for, again, creating that passionate and very hardcore fan base that makes going to the games even better. So I recommend it if you're a sports fan, or even if you're not and you're looking for something to do in Pensacola, or thinking like, hey, I want to be around things where I can kind of participate in, consider Pensacola and going and supporting their semi-pro teams. Again, it's the Blue Wahoos and the Ice Flyers. Tons of fun. That's what arguably one of my favorite features about Pensacola. Now, obviously, I'm a real estate agent along with my brother, so we couldn't make this video without talking about real estate. So let's jump into some of the numbers. Let's give you some idea on what you can expect to pay if you were looking to move here. Now, as of today, the day I'm recording this video, there are 747 active listings in the Pensacola region, and the highest price listing out of those was $8.5 million for a 10,000 square foot home, and it will get you 14 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms. So yeah, it's a pretty big house, obviously. On the other end of that spectrum, the lowest price listing is actually gonna be $24,000, and it's registered and listed as 0 bedrooms, 0 bathrooms. So you're probably gonna have to tear down the homes that are on there. I believe they're distressed properties, and build something you want, but I believe it is 2/10 of an acre, so you do have a little bit of space to build something that's really cool and for a really good price. Now, as for the more useful real estate information, let's talk about numbers that actually kind of relate to you and what you can actually afford. So the average list price of homes in Pensacola over, of all those listings is $408,540. And that will be a home that's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and just under 1,900 square feet. So a fairly decently sized single family home that you could get for a really good price. Now, looking at the median list price of all these homes on the market, that'll come in at $315,000, again, for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home at just under 1,800 square feet. So more than likely, you can expect to pay anywhere, I would say, in that realm of $315,000 to right around $400,000 for a single family home that's gonna get you a typical 1,800 square foot home, which is a very decent size. So if you are having a small family or if you're just single, you will find a really good priced home. And those prices are relatively low at that $315,000 mark compared to many other places on the Emerald Coast. So if you are looking for a good deal, Pensacola could be your #1 option. Plus you get all the benefits that I've kind of talked about earlier in this video. And on top of that, you do get the beaches, you get the water, you get, proximity to just about everything that makes the Emerald Coast cool. And also living in the city, which again, it's kind of cool. I like it. Everything about it is appealing. There's a lot of people that we've been, get in contact with us that have been asking about, I want to live in a city, but I don't want to live in like, Los Angeles types, size cities. And Pensacola is typically the place that I reference. That's what I refer to because I think it's a great option. Again, you're not necessarily in a huge city where it's congested, it's dirty, it's anything like that. Pensacola is a very nice area. Obviously, it's gonna have some of the same problems that all cities have, but it's not nearly gonna be to the scale that obviously the massive, bigger cities that we know of will have. So it's a great option. But let's say you're not a fan of living in the city, but you want to be close to close in proximity to one. Well, Pensacola isn't isolated. It's not like its own area and there's 50 miles between the next town that's closest to it. You can live in areas like Milton, Cantonment. There's a bunch of different areas that you are just on the outskirts of the city where you can get to downtown in 15, 20, 30 minutes, really depending on where you're living and where you're trying to go. But again, you can live maybe that country lifestyle, but want to be close to the city. Great options. There's plenty of listings. And if you have any questions, obviously we'd be happy to help. So you can reach out to us anytime. Anyway, y'all, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I do plan on doing a pros and cons of Pensacola, Florida. So stay tuned for that video. Better yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and also hit that notifications bell so you can be notified when we do make that video and all the other videos that we make on this channel. But as always, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or are considering moving to Pensacola or anywhere on the Emerald Coast, feel free to reach out. I'll leave our contact information, our email and phone number right here. You can give us a call, send us a text, or shoot us an email, and we'd be happy to help in any way we can. Sean and I are eager to hear from you. And if you have any questions about the Emerald Coast and Pensacola in general, reach out to us. But as always, my name is Garrett, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.